All right. Hello. Welcome. 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 We are here for session 2 of coaching with Victoria. And I love her story because she messaged me and she's like, I have been a doula and I don't know if I want to do that anymore. And can you share, can you help me? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So maybe if you want to just share a little bit about your story and our first session and kind of your takeaways from that, and then we'll see what we co-create today.
Yeah, awesome, Christine. So, I guess I was just sort of feeling like I wasn't energetically drawn to birth work right now, but I know that there's something else sort of calling me, and sort of I wanted to work with somebody to help me kind of weed through the murkiness that comes up when we're dealing with kind of our shadow self and just our self doubt and imposter syndrome and all those things that sort of surface. So I really love your approach because I'm very spiritual, anyways, and I loved kind of your intuitiveness tapping into what sort of was coming through you for me. But then also, you sort of posed really interesting questions that helped me get more in line with my truth, just even through a rebranding name and just sort of the direction that I want to go in now with my gifts and with my offerings. So,
Cool.
yeah, yeah, it
What
sparked a
are,
lot
oh, go
of,
ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Just a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that. What are your gifts? Just if you could share those, because I'm wondering if there's other people who might be watching this who have similar, where they're in this transition of like, I have some of these things that I've learned or I've been trained in, but I'm feeling called to something different. That's very common right now. What are the gifts you have?
Well, I would say my gifts are the ability to be in emotionally charged spaces. So, attending births, supporting women, working through those portals to get their children is energetically charged in many capacities. And then also,
Right.
I worked in funeral services as well. So I've actually worked with the grieving families and people passing over, or just being in the presence of souls that have decided to leave and that have died. So have a real gift with intuitively holding energy spaces in those times where people can feel really out of control and carry a
Right.
lot of grief or struggling or being sort of taken to their nth degree here on the earth side, and leaving the earth side. So I know that that's kind of like a big juicy mouthful, but I would say probably my gifts are with energetically tapping into people's needs during times that are really vital here as being humans, where we're being born and when we're dying.
Right.
And also in mothering, I would say as well.
Right. Because how old's your little one?
He's 16 months old.
Okay. So cute. Full hair, like blonde curly hair. Awesome. And that's really cool. So in our first session, we talked about, what are some of the things that you had done and that you could pull together now. So since we chatted, kind of what has spirit or source been saying to you, or kind of what's been brewing in your mind?
Well, I think the biggest thing was um, coming to my new sort of rebranding name, which was really exciting.
Yes,
And um, yeah, can I share my name on here or
I
no?
would love it. I didn't know if you wanted to
Yeah,
or not, but yeah.
yeah, no, I do. I came kind of full circle to this new this rebrand called the Mother's Cauldron, and it just really, I mean, I know, and I feel like nowadays the whole witchy vibe is not cliche, but kind of everyone's sort of claiming that, or they're not, but a lot of people are. But I've always felt very drawn to the ways that sisters and women gather with their intuitive knowing and
Right.
the wisdom that they bring. So the Mother's Cauldron is not going to be sort of a typical place for, you know, talking about what formula to purchase or like how to sleep train or, you know, just sort of the very there are lots of moms groups and support out there for that, but you sort of got me thinking on sort of whole having a space for us to talk about like energetically what we think these little seeds and beings are here to do, because a lot of us, if we're intuitive like that, we feel like our little ones are here with energy and spirit associated to it, which sometimes can feel weird in general mom groups to speak about. So more of the witchy vibes, like also
Yeah.
you also had me manifesting on like you know, if making the choice to even co-sleep or bed share and you're nursing many times a night, sort of the longevity, the herbs, the remedies you're using for your family and during sickness or during these, you know, droughts of motherhood that are feeling alone or isolated, and you know, decisions that you're making against even the patriarchy to mother more of a conscious way of showing up. Even talking about our favorite tarot decks or just things really related to like those witchy vibes and those like
Yeah.
really sort of self that but still somewhat relating to motherhood as well.
Yeah. That's so fun. And you can, like, there's so many fun things you can do as far as from a branding point of view. But also, I do really believe that there's women out there who maybe don't have a support system or they, you know, love the witchy kind of vibe. And not that you're doing, you know, spells on people, but like it's really just the intuition. And witches were healers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were just given this bad rap because I feel men were afraid of them, or men in power were afraid of their healing capabilities. And so it was a way of squashing them down for, you know, those reasons and stuff. But I really do feel a lot of people are drawn to it, you know, because of the mysticism, because of that, you know,
Mm.
sisterhood or, you know, that connection, but also the deep intuition. And I think that is just really awesome. The kids are here for something special. Like they're fully loaded. They have, you know, their healing capabilities and all of that. They are going to be the ones who usher really like we're kind of like bringing out the old world, their new world. Like they're already in, they've got their gifts, their intuition. And so it'll be so exciting to even be a space, I think, for moms maybe who have children that are starting to speak or have really these maybe adult concepts, or they're saying things that the parents are like, what? And you're going to be that space of like, does your child have special gifts? Is your child extra sensitive? You know, what's it? Sensatory? Is that the right word? Where
Yeah.
people can then come to you for answers, right? Because you're like, oh, I know what that is, right? And it's this, and I'll teach you how to parent your child so that you are encouraging their gifts. You're able to help them with that, because I think that in, you know, our generation or even younger or older, excuse me, is that children who had these extrasensory gifts were pushed down. They were like, oh, don't do
Yeah.
that. There was a lot of fear, especially if family was in any kind of religion. And so now we're totally shifting that of like, how cool, you know, and you can really develop the skill. It's like I'm raising an 8-year-old and I am so blown away at how smart she is. And she'll say stuff like she knew all of the astrological signs for our family. Like she just started naming them off in the car. And I was like, how did you even know that? I've never shared that with her. And she's like, oh, I just know. And I'm like, yeah, you do. You know, but it's just so random
Wow.
and not something that we had had that conversation with. And I've been told she's a healer. So it's just really cool that, you know, I'm able to work with her and really just keep an eye on those gifts. I have taught her about her intuition, and that's just the language I use. And this is really good for anyone who has children or you have little ones around you, is teach them, model for them what it feels like for you. So this is actually really, it's kind of a parenting ninja trick actually too, because if she wants a toy or something, I'll take like a pause and I'm like, my intuition is telling me no, like not right now or whatever. So, you know, funny for the toys, but really it's all about her in like real situations. And now she has started to adopt that language and she already feels it in her body, which is so awesome. She knows what anxiety
Mm,
feels in her body. And so she knows her hell no already at 8. And that's so powerful to know that for when she's older, like as a teenager, right? And things are going crazy at school or whatever, she can just tap into that knowing of, what is for her and what's not. So I think that is really a great space. That could
totally.
even be something else for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, and even like losses, miscarriages, and um, you know, babies that have passed over, what are the messages that they receive from those babies, and like holding that space for a conversation like that, because that's not really, yeah, more in the mystical realms, I would say, speaking about
Yeah,
in relation to what we're facing, and what's present in these
right.
beings in motherhood. More of a
Yeah,
mystical space.
yeah, I love it. And so many people are going to adopt that. Like I have been, I'm in a group for mediumship on Facebook, and they had over 500 people join this past month. Like people are searching for you. They're wanting this kind of information. And so that's just so great. Like
Mm,
what we're doing and the esoteric and the mysticism and all of that. And it's not like this thing that is out of touch and you have to have these special gifts. Guys, we all have them. We all have these abilities. It's just we weren't taught how to utilize them. You got to calm your nervous system down first so that you feel it and it drops in more. But as the time is even shifting, we're all getting these downloads. And what sources told me is that people who come and work with us will already have their own healing modality inside them, which is awesome. So we're getting away from like, the structured Reiki and, those kinds of healers and stuff is like, you're going to take whatever medicine or whatever things you have had in your life and you're going to put that together and it's going to be your own. And so it's not going to be like, do you have Reiki or, do you have this? It's just simply like, are you intuitive? And then what's your specialty, right? Because everyone has a specialty. I think will probably come down to it. One word of caution, though, just as you're speaking, is that looking after new moms and then those who've had some kind of miscarriage or have had a baby pass away are two completely different groups. So just be very mindful because you're not going to be able to put those together because you can't have a mom who's lost her child being in the group with others who have their babies
no.
and they're talking about things, right? So
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
I know you're
no,
smart enough, but
more about women that currently have their child, that have a child but have experienced a loss. Um,
yeah, very
because
good.
generally not new mothers that are experiencing kind of that first loss, and no.
Yeah, yeah. And that's really powerful to hold space for them. That's so beautiful for you and what your gifts are because you've been like, what it's like to be a doula and welcome in birth, but you've also been in that space of like what death is and just how grieving and like all of that. That's a superpower for you because imagine now, so you're a mom, you've had a loss, but you have other children. Like your heart is going to be torn. Bless you.
Yeah,
Salud.
thank you.
Where you've got one child that's here and you don't want to neglect their, bless you,
Sorry,
neglect
something
their
needed to come
emotional
out.
needs. Yeah.
Yeah, but you might be getting signals or messages from
Yes.
the power of three. It had to come out in threes. From this other little one that was leaving, and being in that group to be
That's cool.
straddling kind of both worlds in that,
That's very
and
cool.
talking to women that are enlightened, that are not enlightened, but that are spiritually majestic as well, and can also speak that language back. Because I mean, when you talk that way, and probably just any other mom group that's not specifically sort of intuitive driven, that type of language would not be well received or even know how to respond back to that. So that's important.
I think it'd be really neat too to have like a little mini course for moms who have lost a child where you can teach them how to tap into that and how to connect with that baby and hear those messages. could be something as well
Mm.
for you. Yeah, I love it. I love your niche because this is not something that a lot of people are stepping into. You're holding very high, electrical space for people, right? Where there's happiness, but then there's also this deep sorrow and grief, and helping them to be able to shift that as well. I think that is just so beautiful. One thing that I pulled two cards for you. So the first one was honesty. And really, I just love this card because this is for everyone. Like, where can we be more honest with ourselves in either what we're stepping into? Like, maybe you have a vision or you have a gift, but you're afraid to use it. This is, part of your feminine energy. I pulled two cards. So this is the feminine side, is really to just get honest. If you know that your path is laid and you know that you won't fail, then step into that. The energy of honesty supports our choice to be courageously truthful and genuine with kindness and tact. And oh my gosh, like, you definitely have the gift of tact to be able to hold those kinds of conversations, right? Those with families who have suffered loss. And then the second one is for the masculine side. Masculine energy is the sixth chakra, and it's the energy of the third eye that supports our inner sight and intuitive abilities. And I really do feel you're in this space of, yes, they may have the gifts or they may understand it, but together in your collective, you can really tune in and really develop those intuitive abilities that people have.
Mm. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, just your wording in general just sort of bubbles and simmers new ideas. So really a gift you have with that, Christine.
Thank you. I love the stuff. I feel like a detective. I'm like, bring me your pieces. Let's put it
Yeah, it's
together. I think
awesome.
it's all the Criminal Minds that I've watched.
Yeah, I really appreciate it because I've really been stuck for a while. It's kind of no, and I've been wanting to rebrand and I've been wanting to move in a different direction and not really sure kind of what that looks like. So it really feels like it's kind of coming together. So, and it's
Cool.
funny because my husband actually found your course. I didn't even find it, so
Oh,
he must have been tapped into to receiving it to pass it on to me. So yeah,
that's amazing. Oh, thank him. That's so
yeah,
great. Right on. I'll give him the compliment though. The baby totally looks like him. As soon as I saw the photo of him, I'm
yeah.
like, yep, there's the baby.
I know. I birthed my husband. I really did. I know. I'm just
I
his mom. He
I
doesn't look
think
anything like me.
but I think it shifts later. And this is something I heard, and I don't know, you're a doula, maybe you've been around way more babies than I have, but like, I really do feel that the baby comes in and looks like dad so that they know it's theirs, right? There's no question about him. And then
Mm.
eventually, the child will shift into more of like what they're meant to look. I don't know. That's just a little theory I have with that.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, he does look like his dad.
Yeah. I think even for you, just one last piece is that even the doula piece, like the mother's cauldron, this is a type of birth that you could also advertise as one of your services where it's not a traditional birth, right? You can bring in the sage and the crystals and like all that stuff and make it more of this ceremonial thing. Oh my gosh, I think that any woman who is spiritual would be all over that because they're busy having the baby and they can't think of all those things. And you're there not only as that support, but that intuitive support. I'm telling you, like, I have said this, mark my words. I feel within a very short period of time, people are going to start to put on their resume that they are intuitive or highly, sensitive, maybe, or
Mm,
sensitive empath, because those of us who know and understand energies and the power you have of that, like, that's who I will hire going forward, is like my virtual assistant will have that, my accountant, all of the people that we will use, because that is a superpower. Like, they're going to see things that maybe we're not seeing, or get messages or whatever, that it's a total
totally.
game changer. So if you're
It's a
listening to
new
this and you're
world.
looking
Thank
for a
goodness,
job,
finally, right? That the old
yes,
paradigms are dying, right? Because light workers and intuitive individuals are so needed in our world, and
yeah,
so I'm so happy that that's shifting, because I remember when I was born and just working through the first half of my life, I always felt like I had gifts, but they weren't typically what were awarded for in school, you know,
Right.
or, you know, sort of. So I've really had to work through that in my adulthood, getting to that place of like, oh, this is what this is. Okay. Okay. You know?
You're Matilda.
Oh my
Do you
gosh,
remember
that's
the
funny.
movie?
Yeah. And you know what? I grew up in a very similar household. And I remember going to watch Matilda at a friend's house, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, her house is so scary." But I remember never being scared of her house because my house energetically was so unstable, like hers. So
Yeah,
that's so
that
interesting. You just said that. I totally felt like her growing
I
up.
feel that that experience or like those kinds of words and you'll just have to like mind dump can be in your marketing as well, where you're drawing in people who had a similar upbringing or just like felt like it's almost at what I'm getting in energy is like they didn't feel like they belonged earlier and now they're just finding you and
Yeah.
it's like great, I finally feel like I'm home. I have chatted with so many healers and mediums and light workers and stuff this year who I'm not even telling you, like I'm not kidding you, I just felt like they wanted to cry, like thank you that someone is speaking our language or my language and I'm not alone. Like my family thinks I'm weird and they want to put me into the psych ward, you know, and all of these things. And so it's just so great that more and more of us like it's becoming more and more popular, definitely in mainstream, but that there's no more hiding. Like we get to come out and be honest with your gifts and what you have and flip that into something that the collective needs because they're so looking for you and ready. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your gifts and
Yeah.
holding this space to unpack, you know, because it is a bit of shadow stuff that comes through that doesn't allow us to kind of, yeah, yeah, I wouldn't have done this exercise on my own. Let's put it that way. Well, I was trying, but I wasn't able to break through.
Right. Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
really, there's been a big breakthrough. So thank you.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I love it. And I friggin' love your name. Like I think it's the coolest thing. I will brag about this
Yeah. And
conversation.
yeah, it just like came to me. It was like, yeah, the mother's cauldron. And there's nothing out there. And I was actually thinking about even doing like maybe one day a tarot deck designed for mothers because there's like a mother's wisdom deck, which is like Mother Earth and Mother, like the different archetypes, but not like specific to motherhood. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, that was
And when
something that
like we're
came up too.
connectors, we connect people. So when you're ready, I have the contact for you. She actually helps people develop their deck. It's her
Oh,
business.
really?
Yeah, for just whomever. You could have a deck. You don't even have to have a business. You could have a deck for your, I don't know, your kids or your knitting circle, like whatever it is that you're doing. You can create a deck around that. Printer,
Wow.
like the artwork, all of that. She helps you with everything. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Okay,
get
well,
everything set up. Your
I'll be
domain is
dreaming on it more. Yeah, because I feel
yeah,
like anyone that makes a deck always gets dreams or downloads of things that are to be in the cards. So anyways, I'm putting that out there because it's not out there. So yeah.
yep, totally, totally. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for your time in this conversation and allowing me to co-create and have fun with you. This was really a blast. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, you want to reach out, you can send me a DM or info@healingsoulschool.com. If you're looking for this kind of a session as well and you're just stuck, you've got the puzzle pieces, but you don't know how to put it all together, that's what my brain does. Those are the downloads that I get. And so just reach out and I'm happy to do that with you as well. So thank you very much, Victoria. This has been really fun.
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.